So I titled it Financial Matters in Marriage. So last year I was given the privilege of talking about intimacy in marriage, and this year is finance. And I just want to briefly remind us that when I spoke last year, I talked about intimacy and I talked about to give pleasure. The whole purpose is for pleasure. And just to remind us, because it's something that we should keep talking about. And the second one is to talk about finance and to say the thing you should think about is avoid pressure, because these are things that we need to remind ourselves. It's not easy standing here and talking. So what do we want to think about when we talk about finance in marriage? The first thing I'd like to remind us is that finance brings a lot of stress to us as human beings. And we want to try as much as possible to get our finance work for us. It's easier when you are on your own to manage your finances, you know. If you get it right, if you don't, you are the only person that suffers the consequences. But when it comes to marriage or a household, and I will be interchanging it with marriage and household, so in case somebody is here and you are not in a relationship. So, stress. So we want to avoid stress. And I said financial stress creates tension and disagreements. I know we all agree with that. We've all had financial situations. The stress it creates, the worry, the anxiety. It could lead to a breakdown in communication and resentment. Now, these are things that happen so much in our relationship. You know, you look at the world we live in today, and you look at two things which happen a lot outside there. There's the issue of intimacy. You know what I mean when I say intimacy. And there's the issue of finance. And it happens across, you know, in every sphere of life. Even when you look at the world today, these are things that the world is trying to grapple with and to handle. You understand? So finance is a key thing. It creates anxiety. It creates worry. And anxiety and worry thrive in this kind of environment. So where there's financial stress, you will find out that there will be anxiety and there will be worry. You could also notice that there will be resentment and there will be anger. The stress can cause emotional distance and dissatisfaction. It has been known to be one of the causes of separation or divorce. So many times you see what happens, and we look at the world today, we look at divorce, we look at separation, we look at fighting, and we don't understand that the underlying issue is the stress of finance. So what do we need to do? So I'm just going to quickly just remind us some few scriptures quickly so that, you know, it's a bit small, but I'll read them out to you about money. And just to remind us that this is where we need to be as much as we can as Christians. So the first one says, whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. So what's the key word here? The love of money. It is God who gives you the ability to make wealth. So let's remind ourselves as people that God helps us in our finances. No one can serve two masters. You either love one or you will hate the other. You cannot serve God and money. So once again, we are trying to give money its rightful place. God first, money second. Don't be greedy for money. Because whatever I discuss here, it won't help if you have all these flaws. If you're greedy for money, how are you going to work in a relationship? It won't work, you understand? So you've got to deal with some of these issues, and then it will help our marriages or our relationships. So don't be greedy for money. It goes on to be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, serving as overseers, not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be, not greedy for money, but eager to serve. Whoever is greedy for unjust gains troubles his own household. So that's that's like that. You trouble your household. So when there's greed, there are issues, you're going to be in trouble to your household. So whatever we discuss, it might not work because you already have issues that you need to deal with. But he who hates bribe will live. So remember these things. When you are content, when you're satisfied, when you're happy with what you have, it creates a healthy environment. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith. Once again, as Christians, we know whatever we have to contribute to the home. Now, we can debate the percentage, how much we should give, how much we shouldn't. But as Christians, the Bible teaches us and encourages us that you must provide for your home. It is more blessed to give than to receive. So don't be somebody in a marriage or a relationship who's always wanting to take. You understand? You are not ready to give. It shows that there is a problem and you have to deal with it. It's more blessed. That is, you are more blessed when you give than when you just sit and take. And my God will supply all your needs. So God supplies our needs. And if we have faith and confidence in God, you'll be amazed how much God will do. And you would be able to deal with the stress. So I'll go to the next slide. And this is where the core of the teaching is. So money personality. So it's been identified that there are different personalities when it comes to money. And this is key. And I want you to just pay attention and try to put yourself where you be honest with yourself. We've talked about this, being honest, being real. We all have flaws. Are you a saver? A saver shops only when necessary and rarely makes purchases with credit cards. They generally have no debt and may be viewed as frugal. Savers are conservative and don't take risk with their investment. So where do you think you fit in? Spenders. So we also have another personality, spender. Now, I'm not here to judge or condemn or find faults. I'm just telling you what the research has found out about personalities when it comes to money. Big spenders, they love nice cars, nice gadgets, brand new clothing. People with a spending personality type aren't typically bargain shoppers. This means they have a desire for the latest and greatest technology and a beautiful home. Do you see yourself in this group? Investors. These are occasionally aware of money. Consciously, I'm not wearing, you can't see properly, They understand their financial situation and try to put their money to work. So that's another personality. Ignorers. Now, these ones, they commonly don't spend much time thinking about their money or tracking what they spend or where they spend it. Ignorers generally spend more than they earn, are deeply in debt. So these are people who, wake up in the morning, life is good, let's live life to the full. If I want anything, that's okay, you understand? And the other ones are shoppers. Shoppers often develop great emotional satisfaction from spending money. They can't resist spending, even if it's to buy items they don't need. This does not mean they are not concerned about their debt, but the temptation to shop is greater. So these are the 5 personalities that have been identified. I'm sure maybe for some of you seated here, you might know more. But let's just look at these 5. And why it's important is this. Whichever way you look at it, you most likely will not marry somebody that has the same money personality as you. It rarely happens. Or you will rarely be in a relationship with somebody who has the same personality as you. So this makes it tricky, isn't it? Because now both of you have to come together and run a household. Say, for example, you're a spender and you are an ignorer. I mean, that is, you understand. But you know one thing, God understands that he understands our personality. He understands who we are. And God knows that within that, we can make things work. So it's not for us to start fighting or go home today and say, oh, you're always shopping. I love to shop. You understand? I don't love shopping on the high street, but I just love shopping, I feel every month I should treat myself, I just, and when I was reading this, I thought to myself, oh my God, you understand? And that didn't stop me. Today I looked, I thought, I need something. So this, honestly. And I thought to myself, I thought to myself, next month, I will make the adjustment. So if you're a shopper, if you just be real, be honest with yourself, because this will help you when it comes to avoiding financial stress and making sure that when you are in a relationship or in a home, that you don't visit your stress or your personality onto somebody else. Because look, if you're a spender and you spend the rent, think about what you've just done. Sorry, you take the rent money, you find yourself with a nice pair of shoes or suit, or some people just love clothing, or some people just love, maybe, I don't know, we are all different. But if you find yourself in that situation, just imagine the stress. Number one, the stress to yourself, because now you have to tell this other person that there's no money for rent. The money for rent, I use it to buy trainers or something. So conflict starts, stress starts. In fact, the danger with this is that we laugh at it, but do you know how many people have broken up or divorced as a result of these financial issues? In fact, when you look at many, many, many marriages, apart from unfaithfulness, that's why I talked about intimacy at the beginning, that it's important that we understand the purpose of intimacy. It has to be to give pleasure to one another. Let's not get carried away, or else we will join the people in the world and we will have the same result. The other one is finance. But for some people, finance is the top. It's just the top. He can't do this, he doesn't do this, he doesn't give, he doesn't, or she doesn't, or And then before you, a beautiful relationship begins to, break down. I even told Toby, and I could share this with you, not that he has any problems, but that's something that I'm very conscious. I told him, I said, Toby, your finances, make sure you discuss it. Make sure you work it out. Make sure and even now that he's married, from time to time I ask and say, Toby, how is it? Because I know that the relationship is beautiful, but once the stress comes in, you'll be amazed. Somebody that you saw, that you love, before you know it, it's like, nah, I don't think we can live together anymore. So what are the tips that I just want to quickly give as a couple? I only have 20 minutes. So what are the tips? Give. Learn to give. Learn to give. Giving, not getting, is the way. Generosity begets generosity. Learn to give. Learn to give to God as a couple. But let's, for the sake of this, just take it as between yourself. Give to your home. Give. Don't be stingy. Don't be tight-fisted. Don't keep money aside. We'll talk about that later. But make sure that you give. You understand? When you are in a relationship, it can't work if you don't give. How can, you mean you will just sit there and one person will provide? Okay, hold on. I think I need to pause there. Supposing you're a woman and you're at home and you are a homekeeper, that's a different thing. So you are still giving something, because the dynamics of every home is different. Some homes, the woman is a stay at home, and I'm not here to knock that down. But still, you can give. You can give time, you can give something. Be a giver. If you have that principle, you've taken care of some of the financial stress. So learn to give. Another one I want to quickly talk about is pay your bills. Now, we all know that when you are living in a home, you must always pay your bills. You must have a budget. Now, I didn't want to talk about budget because I know some people here understand budget, but some people, they don't really like budget. It kind of restricts them. But you must have an overview. Let me not use the term budget. Overview. What is your expense for the month like? How much income do you have? Have you ever sat down and compared to say, okay, my bills are, let's say the whole bills for the home that you are living in is, let's say 1,002. So now you know how much income is coming in. How much do I think I should contribute towards it? Do you understand? So these are very important things, but make sure you pay your bills. If you don't pay your bills, stress starts coming in. The other thing that I would like to talk, these are just tips. Save for the future, avoid debt, avoid it. It's not always wise to get into debt. And one other thing is communicate effectively. Learn to discuss. I think one of the things that you find out mostly is that these two areas that I mentioned are things that people don't talk about, or they talk about it, when the problem comes. We should learn to communicate effectively. And you notice the word effectively means that you are listening and you are talking, not one person talking. Really, you have to listen, okay? And look at it. If you are married to somebody who has a different personality, you will need to talk. Say for me, I like to spend. You can't curtail me from spending. I work. So how are you going to tell me that, no, you can't buy that shoe? I mean, come on. That looks too much. So, but if we communicate effectively and you know who I am and I understand who you are, then we can come to an agreement, isn't it? And we can both be happy without the home suffering. Because once the home suffers, then there are issues. So that takes me to the next slide. And the next slide is, what is best for you as a couple? Now, you have to find out what is best for you as a couple. Nobody can come and tell you, this is what's best for you. Look at the scripture. He said, can we two walk together without both agreeing on the direction? Can you live together? Can you run a household together without both agreeing? There has to be agreement. And please, it's not a matter of one person is right. I am right. You are wrong. Talk about it, discuss. Now, there are many things, 3 different types that people threw out there and, they talk about. One is that you both have your separate account. Now, the benefits of separate accounts, there are benefits and there are disadvantages. The benefits is that, you have control of your own money. You know what is coming in. Nobody's controlling you. Nobody's telling you you can't buy this, you can't do this, you understand. You have control. The disadvantage is this. When it comes to the bills, if you are not a disciplined person, then issues will come. Because when it comes to bringing your part and you don't bring it, then issues happen. You understand? And what do I mean bringing your part? I'm talking about running the household. I'm not talking about 100% control of your whole, you understand. But there is a part. I should have brought a practical example because it makes more sense if you have. Say, for example, to run your household is costing you 1,008, and you live in the house, both of you. So you have to discuss, how are you going to, you know what people do, and I'm not against it, and if that works for you in this place, please go ahead. But what people do is this: you pay this bill, I pay this bill, you pay this one, I pay that bill. It works for some people, but sometimes, sometimes what if the person defaults? Like for me, I don't want a situation where you default, and then the next thing, the letter comes through the door. And then I'm saying, okay, so now conflict has started, isn't it? Because why didn't you pay this bill? Oh, I had to send money to my mom. Okay, why your mom? What does your mom? So your mom, that kind of thing. Then that, but if you have an agreement that, okay, let me go to the next one, joint account. So the other one is where 100% people put all their money together and, this is a good one. But it has its disadvantages too. What kind of personality is the other person? If the person is frugal and only likes to invest, then that means everything will be controlled. And the other person is a spender. So it has its goods, it has its downside. I am not here to suggest which one, but I will just talk about the 3. The last one is joint and separate, whereby you have a joint account to run the home, and then you have your separate accounts. That is maybe you both have your separate account and then you have a joint account. Now, the sole purpose of the joint account is whereby you put money together to run your entire household. Now, for me, can I say that? Yeah, I can. I'm not allowed to give financial advice, but I can just tell you that for me, that's a good one, whereby it allows independence. You are not bound together. You know, one person is not trying to control the whole dynamics of the household, whereas everything is that, okay, before we spend this money, before we buy this for the children, you know. But if it works in your household, that is okay. However, these are things that we should consider, especially the younger ones who are going, or the matured ones who are entering new relationships. You need to think about this and discuss, how do you run your household? And honestly, financial issues is all about how you manage your finance. It's not to tell you that, oh, you must save a percentage. Some people are very good. They have how much you earn, how much you should spend, what percentage. Please, if you like it, you can go to a financial expert. But for me, as a person, I would just say do the basics. Do the needful, isn't it? The needful is that you run your home. You don't have stress. You plan for the future. Say, for example, you need to fix something in the house. You have some money set aside. It's not that when the need comes, it's like, oh, where do we get the money? Then you are just running all over the place. And then that still brings stress. The less stress we have from finance, the better our homes will be. Happier you will be. You'll be able to, in fact, you will discover that you'll be able to do more with your money than if you were just running all over the place. I remember many years ago, and he shared with you, and you'll be amazed how much by just defaulting this thing can do. You know, just a default. In those days, I think it was the credit something. If you default, they put 28. Is it 20? No, bank checks. If your checks are returned, they charge you £28. Yeah, it used to be in the bank then. I think they stopped that practice. But yes, for every time there's a direct debit or something, they will charge you. So imagine, sometimes your bill, the amount is maybe £45. But for defaulting for £45, they charge you £28. Where are you going to get the money? You're already struggling. So you can imagine how you begin to lose so much money by not planning your home well. And, you know, it's important to keep an eye on your finances. So my advice is this: have a budget, you know, sit down, overview. Let me put it overview. How much does it cost? What are the expenses? Which ones come monthly? Which ones come yearly? There are some yearly, which comes 5 months, 10 months. Just put it down. How much is coming in? I remember, and I can share this with one of my sisters, and she, you know, she was going through that. And so I said, okay, let me help you. So she came to me and we sat down and we wrote down the list of her, with your income, you already know. It's not many. Sometimes it's just one, fixed figure. But with the expenses, so we sat down, we wrote it down, long list. Then we totaled everything. I thought, no, this is not right. So I said, okay, is there any area we can cut cost? We tried to cut costs with the Sky something. Then it was about 20-something pounds. Even with that, so I said to myself, this is not working. You need extra income. There's no way, there's no wonder you are stressed out. Your income, your expenses is more than your income. So you'll be amazed that this simple exercise helps you a lot. From month to month, you can be stressing over something just because you didn't sit down and look at it. And also it tells you that, okay, the next time I want to go to the shop and buy a pair of shoes, maybe you see £50 and you see the one who is £250. You know that you don't have £250 extra, but you have 50. You go for the £50. Remember, it's not about buying a shoe for £50. It's about removing the stress from your life and from your home. All right, so I'll go to the last slide. And do I have a last? Okay. So the key thing is, how do we live in financial harmony? And I think even if you don't remember many things I said today, I want you to remember this one: discuss, talk. It's important. You know, don't make it once in a year. Don't make it that when the trouble has come. Don't make it that when maybe the children are about to go to somewhere, that's when you just talk regularly. It brings harmony. Talk about it. Oh, you know what? I tell him all the time. I say to him, you know what? They're increasing the water bill by £19 a month. That's what they sent us the letter in just this 2 weeks ago. So can you imagine? And I told him, just multiply it by 12, 240. So we need to look for extra 200. You know, just talk about these things and sit down. Don't make it like, oh, only when there's tension, that's when it, because when the tension is there, honestly, it's harder for you to talk. So I will advise us, talk about these things. You see all these big companies you see all over. You'll be amazed how many times they sit down and talk about money. Do you know that it is a legal requirement that companies prepare cash flow statements? Pastor Yinka, you correct me if I'm wrong. Cash flow statements, and you have to include it as part of your annual returns, isn't it? You have to. Cash flow statements. So you see all these big companies, you think, okay, they're making money. No, you have to prepare it. Some companies, in fact, they have a monthly cash flow statement. At the end of the month, they review it and make adjustments to the annual one. They correct it on a monthly basis because they know if they don't, sooner or later, they will run into financial situations. So we are not at that level. We are not asking us to do that. But think about it, how easy your home will be. How nice it will be if you can run your home. Wake up in the morning, you know that your bills will be paid. Everything has been planned for. You don't have to stress yourself. You don't have to worry. And even if there's an expense coming up, you can go and quickly talk about it and discuss how you are going to meet that requirement. So my advice is that we learn to discuss this thing. If you're in a single household, and it's just you, somebody, find somebody who can help you. Sit down and look at this. Discuss financial concerns. Discuss your financial goals, financial decisions. Why did you do this? Oh, I did it because da. And also discuss your financial obligations. And I trust that with all these little tips, that our homes will be our home will be a place that is free from the stress and the anxiety and worry that comes from money. Thank you.